We've shared it for a long time. I don't think too many of you people have heard of him. He's very low-key. He's a very low-key person, but he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy. An extraordinary campaign for President of the United States. I know, because he also went after me a couple of times. I didn't like it. And I mean this sincerely. Had he been allowed to enter the Democrat primary, he would have easily beaten Joe Biden, but they wouldn't let him. They put up rules I've never seen. Rules like he had to have 65% of the vote in order to run, little things like that. His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby. You want to know the truth? And I don't think I've ever introduced anyone that got applause like he just got. I must tell you. I don't think nearly assassinated in Pennsylvania last month. Bobby called me to express his best wishes. He knows firsthand the risks incurred by leaders who stand up to the corrupt political establishment. When you stand up, you bring on some trouble for yourself, but you have to do what's right. You have to do what's right for the country. I will tell you, we are both in this to do what's right for the country. That's what we do. Was subject to repeated threats to his safety during the course of his campaign while being denied protection by the Harris-Biden administration. And this is a tribute in honor of Bobby. I am announcing tonight that upon my election, I will establish a new independent presidential commission on assassination attempts. back last month, but I tell you, I have never had more people ask me, please, sir, release the documents on the Kennedy assassination. Have concerns about toxins in our environment and pesticides in our food. That's why today I'm repeating my pledge to establish a panel of top experts working with Bobby to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems. We want every child in America to grow up and to live a long and healthy life. So I just want to ask Bobby to speak for a little while. I'll stand aside. But I can only tell you, I've known him a long time. We've been a little bit on the opposite side of the equation, but I will say this, he is a brilliant, I still think of him as young, he's not that young. I always call him young, but he's not that young. But he is a phenomenal person, a phenomenal man who loves the people of this country as much as anybody can love the people of this country. So Bobby, please say a few words. Thank you.
A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Nees, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. Institutions, these regulatory agencies are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years on my campaign, and he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president, and we talked, we had a very good talk, and he invited me to come see him the next day, and I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida, and we talked about, not about the things that separate us, because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. One of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic. Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted. He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. $200 billion wars in Ukraine, and we could use that money back here in the United States. The best way to build a safe America is to rebuild our industrial base and rebuild the middle class in this country.
Yeah!
And don't you want a president who's going to get us out of the wars and who's going to rebuild the middle class?
Yeah!
He told me that he wanted to end the censorship because the whole basis of American democracy is the free flow of information. And we know that a government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. And can you think of any time that you can look back in history and say that the people who were censoring were the good guys? They're always the bad guys. Because it's always the first step down that slippery slope to totalitarianism. Who's going to protect America's freedoms.
Yes!
And who is going to protect us against totalitarianism. And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer?
Yeah!
And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
Wow, that was something, huh? Fantastic guy. You know, he did well, and the polls are good and all, but you have to remember we have sort of like a two-party system. It was designed that way, and it's awfully tough. And as well as he did, he'd be at 10 and 15 and 16 points sometimes. That's a lot. That's a lot. But if he were in a regular system, like as a Democrat or perhaps as a Republican, but not against me, of course. If he were in a regular system, there are a lot of people that maybe liked him the best, but they said we can't vote. So with all of those votes he was getting, he has a lot of votes that he could have gotten. I think he's going to have a huge influence. We're leading now, but I think he's going to have a huge influence in this country. In the polls, and those numbers are big to start off with, but Bobby and I will fight together to defeat the corrupt political establishment in the Bobby's campaign. I very simply ask you join us in building this coalition. It's a beautiful coalition in defense of liberty and safety, prosperity and peace. It's going to be an incredible coalition. The relationship has been so good for so long. I have no doubt it's going to work. It will work well. But we have to win. We have to take our country away from these people that are going to destroy our country. We won't have a country left. So thank you very much. We need your vote. As you all know, this week the Democrats held their convention. You probably saw them. tonight. We will stop the abuse. We will stop the high taxes. I said, you could have done it 3.5 years ago.
You like morons.
Auditorium that you're in and go to the White House right now. You want to have a strong border? All you have to do is say to the incredible Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement, close the border now. You don't need bail. Even beyond the numbers that are on the chart, it shows the least numbers of illegal immigrants pouring into our country. Again, prisons from mental institutions, terrorism, where the bottom arrow is. But you know what? That chart is meaningful in many ways. Some people understand what I'm talking about. I love you guys. But isn't that a beautiful sight? Look at that, look at that. And then look what happens when, that was my last week in office, and look what happens after I left. It's like a rocket ship. Look at that, isn't that terrible? No vetting, no checking, we have no idea who they are. They just pour into our country by the millions and millions and millions. We need to turn the page. Of 4 years of calamity and failure, they have had calamity and failed, and say, Kamala, you've done a horrible job. You've been the worst vice president in the history of our country. Of a party without getting one vote. She didn't get one vote. Hey, maybe she's smarter than we think. You never know, look at it that way. As Vice President, Kamala cast the deciding votes, causing the worst inflation in decades, costing the typical American household $28,000. Think of this, higher prices. It was inflation. $28,000. As border czar, she flooded America with savage illegal alien criminals who have been raping, pillaging, and killing our cities and our towns. 3 years ago this week, she was the final vote on the catastrophic Afghanistan withdrawal. And we were withdrawn with dignity, with grace, and with strength. We would have been out faster, but we were going to keep Bagram. But that was the most embarrassing event in the history of our country, leading to horrific war and humiliation.